Showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is G-Com Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Yo, what is going on, y'all? This is Nova Phoenix. I'm your host of G-Com Radio on iHeartRadio, and I have returned for a new show for you guys this week. Sorry I was off, man. Sorry I was off. I was supposed to do an in-betweens little short app just to let you know what was going on with me and some other things that was going on for the time period for that week, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it because I got busy just doing this New York Tech Day. I'm preparing for that and trying to get all the details and the small parts together for the booth that's coming April 23rd at Jacob Javits Center. And I can't do everything. I'm sorry, I can't do everything. I can't do work on Lyfeblood and then do the content for G-Com Radio. And then also at the same time, which is a business all on its own, is posting on social media. It's just so much to do. I can't do it all. You know what I mean? And I can't do it all. So a lot of things have to get pushed to the side if you know certain things take precedence, and I have to do it in order of priority. And it was important that I start getting this thing rolling because the show is literally around the corner. It's like a month and a week, a month and 2 weeks to the show, and I to the event, and I got to make sure that I get started now to get things rolling to prepare for that day. So it's gonna be a beautiful thing. I really do hope I'll have a nice little suit that I'm thinking about doing for New York Tech Day, because I've seen pictures, and you know everybody does their own thing, and I always try to kind of veer off left and create my own identity. So hopefully it goes well. I'm gonna let you guys know how it is. I'm supposed to meet my friend, my good friend from way back in the day, Shamir. She's a fashion stylist, designer. She designs wedding gowns, and she's really good at it. So I will let you know how it goes. I'm supposed to meet her soon and really go over the sketch and what it looks like and the fabric and all that. So let's see how it goes. So let's get the show started with some of these opening mentions. What is the deal? Facebook, you know, this coronavirus is going crazy, man. So Facebook had this F8 developers event, and they canceled it because of the coronavirus. There's going to be people from all over the world that was going to show up to this event, and they canceled it. Rightfully so, because this coronavirus thing is running around crazy. Here's in Italy. One person died in the United States. I believe it was in Washington State or something like that. It's not like epidemic levels like AIDS in the United States, but you know, it is spreading around a lot of different countries, and you want to keep tabs on it to make sure it doesn't really spread out of control and hits a lot of people like it has in China, as the articles state. So yeah, they canceled that event, and I think they're doing some more online things. So that was the responsible thing to do. iPhone 12 is coming soon, and I see it was from I don't know if it was from a fan or a person that really digs the iPhone, but they did like a mock-up design of what's this gonna be. And let me tell you something. Sometimes the mock-up designs be out of this world. Like, is that what the iPhone 12 is gonna be? Because I saw a mock-up design about 2 models ago of iPhone, and it was nothing. It was dope, but it was nothing like what the iPhone was coming out with. And if you guys don't know, the smartphone business is kind of leveling off, and it's not selling as much as it did previously. Now, Apple did set it off with the iPhone, and they're doing all right. It's cool. Now, Apple was the first to really, set the bar for smartphones, and all the other companies caught up to it. Not to say that iPhone is not nice. It's just that all the other companies caught up. So, you got Samsung and, you got Google Pixel and all these other models from different manufacturers out. And, some of them is just like, oh man, should I stay with iPhone? But, I'm an iPhone person. I'm an Apple person. So, I'll stick with them. But this new design that they got out for iPhone 12 that this guy put out, man, let me listen. It had a wraparound screen all the way to the back. It looked like there's just no metal. I mean, there's a metal strip in the back, of course, for the camera lenses, but the screen just wraps around the side and looks like, man, it looks nice, man. Just Google it, man. iPhone 12 fan design or whatever. It's really cool. The other thing is, Jay-Z filed a second lawsuit along with Yo Gotti and Team Rock against that Mississippi Department of Corrections. And everybody knows that situation over there at Parchment. Like 150 inmates who were given first-hand accounts of lack of clean water and inadequate food, heat, healthcare, all these things that was happening. Clothing, people dying. It's ridiculous. Crazy. But they're doing a second lawsuit. And really to get down to the nitty-gritty with what's happening in Parchment, and support to all those folks. I wanted to do a more extensive piece on that, on Parchment. I never really got a chance to. I will follow up with this and give a segment out to what's happening in Parchment. It's really sad, and it just goes to show that the prison industrial complex is new slavery. Let's be real. As they say, the more things change, the more things stay the same. And you will always have the establishment that try to maintain means of dominance in certain ways, and they do that through the prison industrial complex, and they're using bodies to make money off of it, to make profit. So Parchment is not the only jail that's doing this. It's getting attention because just how it goes. It's getting attention. So always going to be supporting Jay-Z and his the lawsuits that he's putting up against with the other folks that he's got down with him and pull him into it. It's just not him. A lot of people see what's happening with Parchment and doing protests. I will try to go in a little bit more depth in a future show in another segment. So what else is going on? Look, let me tell you something. I just saw the what do you call it? And this is old, but the Essence Awards, I think it was, the Image Awards, is dope. Shout out to all the people that did their thing. And let me just say, man, some of this plastic surgery is getting really out of control. I swear to you, some of this plastic surgery is out of control. I'm not going to say who, I'm not going to say what. I'll just say this. I saw an event in the past, probably getting nothing to do with the Image Awards, but man, listen, there are beautiful women out there that keep on messing with their face, man. And you think that all this counter information from different celebrities, especially women celebrities, are talking about love yourself as who you are, and all of a sudden you still have women that are perfectly fine keep on messing with themselves with this stupid plastic surgery. It's a shame. It's a shame. And lastly, Will Smith has a new clothing line coming out called Bel Air Athletics. He's putting it out in I guess, if I see from this article, excuse me, that he's doing it in ways to show love to Miami, Florida, and he's got a lot of different pieces that are coming out under Bel Air Athletics, drawing inspiration from the 1980s, 1990s Miami Dolphins and the Miami Hurricanes uniform. And it's dope. I'm seeing these pictures as I was scrolling through before. I think it's kind of hot, man. I like some of the wear that they got going on. Definitely would love to support that, man. They got a site. I forgot what business this is. I got to find them because I saw it, and all of a sudden, you get caught up in the whirlwind of life, and then you forget about it. But there was this one business that was doing T-shirts or jerseys from your favorite TV shows, whether it was the Cosby Show, whether it was the Fresh Prince, and whatever shows that they clothes that they wore on the show. This company replicated it down to the last thread. I thought it was dope. Also, like I think it was what do you call it? What was that show? The spinoff from the Cosby Show. It was with Dwayne Wayne all. Anyway, so I gotta find that. If anybody knows it, please hit me on Instagram or something like that, because it was really dope. You know, definite nice throwbacks to these old shows and the clothes, man. So anyway, all right, so let's get into the first segment of the show. So the first segment is, you know what? I gotta say this. I was thinking about this. Humans are pretty resilient creatures, right? We survived some pretty disastrous events that could have at one point wiped us off the planet. I mean, we went through the bubonic plague, we went through AIDS, we went through measles and smallpox and Ebola, polio, malaria, all these things, right? We've also survived natural disasters, right? Famine, war, etc., whatever. Pretty amazing creatures, man. We're resilient human creatures. However, even though we pass through some of these horrific times of our lives, and we tend to kind of like attach ourselves to the pain. You know what I mean? We attach ourselves to the pain and it becomes a part of us. Now, is that what we are as human beings? Or is that just a problematic thing that we're just overlooking and we're passing it off as culture? And, you know, I was doing research and, you know, just looking online, and I found this one article that said there are like 20 or not so obvious indicators of emotional pain and psychological suffering. And it was interesting to see this, and I'm, you know, reading different articles. And let's just go through 20 of these quick and see if any of these things relate. And it's, some things I was like, what, really? This is an issue? But let's say, for one, it being drawn to the deceiving world of spirituality, and two, superstitious beliefs. Let's just say, you know, that's one of the same. There's nothing wrong with you know, attaching yourself to religion and different spiritual systems. But they say if you make it all of yourself, everything that you are, and it takes all of your attention, it is a problem. And you're kind of trying to as they say, unhealthy finance. It says what? It says, consequently, instead of developing inner strength and trusting yourself, you start seeking explanations for human pain, the will to live and hope for fortune, and doubtful spiritual guidance, like in different things. So, you know, are we kind of, when we evolve ourselves in religion and that becomes our whole life, is it kind of a reaction to some psychological pain? Like, I've always spoken to people that are highly religious, and when I try to talk about things that are happening in life, they always refer back to the Bible. And I always tell them, listen, and I don't have these conversations anymore, but in the past, when I would try to pull this person that's hyper religious and say, hey man, look at this bug, or look at this flower, for some reason they will always refer to some sort of, you know, angel or scripture. And I'm like, no, forget that. Let's just deal with it scientifically, how this flower grows. And I had this conversation with someone saying, listen, just use a flower as an example. I understand God, I understand spirituality, but use this flower as an example. Why did this flower survive in this environment when no other flower or no other plant has a why? Whether it's water, whether it's the sunlight, whether it has specific attributes that makes it survive, unlike other, you know, plant life. But this person or these individuals will always refer because God made it so. I'm like, no. And I have no problems with spirituality or God. I always try to seek balance in both sides, whether from a scientific point of view and also from a spiritual point of view. But some of it could be rooted in psychological pain. So that's interesting. Being drawn to the deceiving world of spirituality and superstitious beliefs where, you know, you don't walk under a ladder, or you broke a mirror, and people get sucked into these ideas that have no factual basis. There's no logic to it, and they get lost in this world. Kind of like almost what I think of. What's that dude's name? this rapper that named himself after that dude that killed all those people down in South America. Jim Jones. All right, not the rapper Jim Jones, but the dude that killed all those people, and those people got kind of sucked into it. And usually when you have these occults, it's from folks that are going through some sort of pain, and they have to attach themselves to it to give them purpose, or in some ways escapism. And then this guy ends up killing all these people by drinking Kool-Aid or something. That's nuts. So that's a perfect example of that. Another one is excessive altruism. They're saying that a similar sign of emotional pain to questionable aspects of spirituality and religion is excessive altruism. Being a good person, helping others in need, and contributing to a better world is definitely the right thing to do so, but there's a thin line. They say an unhealthy form of altruism is when you completely forget about your own needs and only serve other people or humanity in general until you run out of almost all of your own resources. So that's a form of psychological pain. Interesting. What do you think? To move this along, they say here, 4, gluttony, dieting extremes and pushing your body to the limits. That's on one form. 5, all types of greed. 6, easy to anger and frequent mood swings. I know a couple of people that had frequent mood swings. You could say anything to them and then boom. And sometimes people will make games out of it because that person will trip out, and you got that friend in your circle. You will say something and everybody gets a good laugh out of it because you just chilling, whatever like that, and you could watch that person flip out over something that's totally insignificant, saying it's a sign of psychological pain and emotional struggle. What else are they saying here? 7, terrible nightmares. 8, strong protection of intimate space and lack of physical touch. That's kind of extreme. 9, isolation. A couple of these things can even come from people that, especially with school shootings, come from people that are very disturbed when they're in high school and they're bullied, and they tend to stay by themselves, isolate themselves, they're very quiet, and when they are bullied, they tend to finally explode from taking all of that aggression, and unfortunately it turns out to having students die, like in Columbine and several other places. It's crazy. 10, always being late. That's interesting. Let me see about always being late because they describe it. Let me scroll down here. Why they say that? We all know that people always You're creating distance by showing independence in an ill way, by being late or through any other type of unreliability. One possible subconscious reason for being late is not in messiness and being unorganized, but in silently showing people that you're not too dependent on their love or affection. It's a very toxic way of showing autonomy and independence. I know someone is always late. Constantly late, always late. Doesn't matter, job, whatever, always late. And I'm like, listen, you get up in time and you get to work on time. You get to these places on time. But this person that I know is consistently late. Wow, this is interesting. Okay, let's continue. And I never understood that, but something to think about. Perfectionism, always seeking out perfectionism. Let's see here. 12, micromanagement. I have a tendency to micromanage. Interesting. 13, constantly rushing and worrying. 14, listening to broken heart music. That's kind of true. There's nothing wrong with listening to melancholy music, but if that's all you listen to, it's kind of an indication that you are in a space that is pretty dark. And that's also an indication of some sort of psychological problems or emotional struggle. 15, bitching, whining, and complaining. 16, too rigid morals or a broken moral compass. Interesting. Forming abusive relationships. That's a given. Not wanting kids. Physical pain, which is understandable, and excessive fantasizing. Again, I think in terms of excessive fantasizing, that could mean escapism. But let's go down to not wanting kids. Let's see what they explain. A child can be a reminder of how tough your childhood was. Consequently, it's natural to feel resistance to have a daily reminder of how painful your upbringing was for years to come. Similarly, you might be asserting that you don't want to bring a new human being into this cruel world, even though you live in fairly good life conditions and circumstances. Oh yeah, I can understand that. I can get that. Because you don't want your kid to go through what you went through, so you avoid having kids. Man, it is a screwed up world. But I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, this place is messed up, but there's a lot of good. There's a lot of beauty, and then you can try as hard as hell to give your kids the right environment to grow up in. It's not going to be 100% perfect, but that's what life is. But to try to not continue your line, and that's your personal choice. If you don't want kids, that's your personal choice. But to not do it because you don't want that kid to go through what you went through, you got to seek a therapist for that, man. Because as crazy as kids can be, they are a blessing. To see yourself continuing on, that is your immortality, your children, and to see your face on your kid's face, man, there's nothing that could beat that. I don't care what you say, there's nothing that could beat that. That's the most beautiful gift anyone could ever have in life, to have your own kids, to have yourself continue on. I'll get into that a little bit more. Too rigid morals or a broken moral compass. Let's go on that quickly before we get into the next, to the first song. It said, when it comes to your moral standing, there are two extremes that can indicate emotional pain. The first extreme is possessing unbearable moral standards. Yeah, I can kind of see that, kind of like a preacher's daughter or preacher's son, where that there's all types of effort that's going around, and then you protect your daughter. You keep her from going out and partying with friends, or keeping her from doing any extracurricular activity. You totally control her life, and it could be overbearing. Yeah, I could get that. Or the opposite, but what they say when with a preacher's daughter, when she finally gets out on alone, because she never experienced any of those things in her preteens, she starts wild out. And she do crazy things. So everybody talk about the preacher's daughter like, yeah, she a preacher's daughter, you know what she gonna do. But yeah, man, I can see how that's wrong. And a broken moral compass, because you went through such a emotional struggle that there's no boundaries that you have as you become an adult, and all of a sudden you just become this wild and uncontrollable figure that really doesn't care about anything. So that's kind of a given. But there are a lot of things that we suffer from that I think that we can say that we're strong, that we survived it, but we also have to be aware of the scars that we get from that emotional distress. And then we got to seek counsel. We got to have a strong, more so a reliable person that we can go to kind of talk through our issues, because we can't pass off pain as a part of our culture. And that's important, because that can lead us down a very dark path that can make us make the wrong choices when it comes to ourselves, our family, and also the people, the society that we represent. So we got to be very careful how we come out of a specific battle or conflict in our lives, and be keen on how it can manifest itself through our behavior. So yeah, man, I thought that was a pretty interesting thing, because the reason why I named that part of the segment "Don't Pass Pain as Culture" is because Charlemagne the God put that on his IG post, and I was like, yeah, that's a dope saying. I don't know if he came up with it or he was passing on the message, but I certainly did on my IG page. And that's important, that we go through those little things, signs that of a person going through some sort of a painful event in their lives. We got to be cognizant of it, man, and see how we can solve or rectify the issue within ourselves. So all right, so let's go through the first song of the show. We have Bobby Odick. You know what? I didn't even write down this dude's song. Bobby Odick, where are you, sir? Bobby Odick's song, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right, so excuse me. Bobby Odick's song is called "Let Me Know." Let Me Know. And right behind Bobby Odick from Let Me Know is the bonus song, Danny Baylor. Played her a long time ago, man. Her song was Scatterbrained, a big song, a very big song. I love Scatterbrained. I'm playing it again. So let's listen to Bobby Odick with Let Me Know, and right behind Bobby is Danny Baylor, Scatterbrained. All right.
Ooh, a G-Con exclusive.
As much as I'm feeling you, girl, I didn't wanna say it. Cause I know these others, they just tryna get you naked. I just wanna take my chance, let me show you that I'm different. I know you're used to talking, but I need you to just listen. Did you act like just to talk, girl, I gotta have an explanation. Like I can sit down with you and have a conversation. I've been steady patient, but I can see what you're facing. Worry about your friends and that causes your hesitation. Don't wait, said I'll be ready to leave here in a minute. You're chilling with friends, but you can tell your friends that you're finally finished. Yeah, baby, just let me know now if you're with it. Cause I'm feeling you and you feeling me. This might be the beginning. Girl, you got my nose here wide open. Can you wind up for me? Show what you're working. I like the way that you tease me on purpose. Say we can order bottle service, you can flourish, girl. Tell me what you're doing tonight. Let's not play pretend, girl. You know I caught you looking, but you're sitting there with your friends like you're too good. Go ahead and take my hand. I can tell that you wanna dance. I can see you ain't got a man, and you came to. Said you don't need a man, and I can see that. Said you don't want one, girl. I can't believe that. You need someone for that balance. I can be that. But I'm trying to show you love, girl, best believe that. Girl, you bad and you make your own bread. Pay your bills, don't need help, got some sense in your head. Where you look, in that dress, must admit, I'm impressed. I wish that I could tell you all the things that's running through my head. But I know you independent, I can see that. I'm trying to feel you out, can you receive that? You got a lot up on your mind, so can I ease that? So do you feel me, baby girl, I need some feedback. I'll be ready to leave here in a minute. You're chilling with friends, but you can tell your friends that you're finally finished. Yeah, baby, just let me know now if you're with it. Cause I'm feeling you and you feeling me. Let's push it to the limit. Girl, you got my nose here wide open. Can you wind up for me? Show what you're working. I like the way that you tease me on purpose. If you really get into it, make a move, girl, just tell me what you're doing tonight. Be real, I'm not here to try to save ya. I'm just trying to chill, I'll be on my best behavior. Where you're at tonight, that's just where I'm trying to be. Your friends will be alright, just tell them you wanna leave. Woke us up, woke us up. Girl, I didn't wanna say it, but there ain't no need to try to fake it. So give me a chance, let me show you that I'm different. I know you're used to talking, but I need you to just listen. You act like this to talk, girl, I gotta have an explanation. I think I might be caught up with the new infatuation. I've been steady patient, but I can see what you're facing. Worry about your friends and that causes your hesitation. Don't want wait, said I'll be ready to leave here in a minute. You're chilling with friends, but you can tell your friends that you're finally finished. Yeah, baby, just let me know now if you're with it. Cause I'm feeling you and you feeling me. Let's push it to the limit. Girl, you got my nose here wide open. Can you wind up for me? Show what you're working. I like the way that you tease me on purpose. If you really get into it, make a move, girl, just tell me what you're doing. Said I'll be ready to leave here in a minute. You're chilling with friends, but you can tell your friends that you're finally finished. Baby, just let me know now if you're with it. Cause I'm feeling you and you feeling me. Let's push it to the limit. Girl, you got my nose here wide open. Can you wind up for me? Show what you're working. I like the way that you tease me on purpose. If you really get into it, make a move, girl, just tell me what you're doing tonight. Here in a minute. Baby, just let me know now if you're with it. Said I'll be ready to leave here in a minute.
On the #1 podcast platform in the world, G G-Com Radio on iHeartRadio.
Lately I've been feeling like my brain's at the tip of my tongue. And anyone who knows me, they know that I'm never undone. So busy thinking, I got it all together. Think it's swooping, just like you're flying Delta. My head's in the clouds and I don't really wanna come down. 'Cause I just can't get out of my mind. You got me scared, and I lose even when I try. You got me scared, scared of brain, scared of brain, scared of brain, scared of brain. You steal my focus every time. You got me scared, brain. Lost in the daydream, your love's got me all the way out. And if they call me spacey for you, babe, I wear it so proud. So busy thinking, I got it all together. Think you're swooping, just like you're flying Delta. My head's in the clouds and I don't really wanna come down, 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 down. 'Cause I just can't get you off my mind. You got me scared, and I lose even when I try. You got me scared, scared of brain, baby, scared of brain. You steal my focus every time. You got me scared, scared of brain. There goes my train of thought. You got me scared, scared of brain. You run my mind like it's a marathon. You got me scared, scared of brain. There goes my train of thought. You got me scared, scared of brain. You run my mind like it's a marathon. So busy thinking, I got it all together. And you're swooping, just like you're flying Delta. My head's in the clouds and I don't really wanna come down, down. 'Cause I just can't get you off my mind. You got me scared, scared of brain, and I lose even when I try. You got me scared of brain, scared of brain, scared of brain, baby, scared of brain, scared of brain. You steal my focus every time. You got me scared, scared of brain. Lost in the daydream, lost in the lost in the lost in the daydream, lost in the lost in the daydream, lost in the lost in the lost in the daydream.
Yeah, that was Bobby Odick with Let Me Know. And right behind Mr. Bobby is Danny Baylor with Scatterbrain. I know you like that song. I always love that song. I hear that on the radio, man. But, you know, I will play that as much as I want to on this show. And I'm definitely going to put it together, a playlist at some point, or a particular project I've been working on. It's one of my side projects. Definitely Scatterbrain is going to be on that project. So shout out to both of them, Danny Baylor and Bobby Odick. Before we continue the second segment, we are going to get into Business of the Week. And I know you're going to love this. Hear this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, for that girl.
Bringing you the business of the week and its innovative founders. It's what you've been waiting for.
The work of trying to find a new place to live can be daunting. It can be through word of mouth by friends, online, or just from experience. Sometimes you wish that the process could be a little better to help you make the best choice. Where can you go for the best advice on your next place? RentLogic. Lyfeblood.com. Yale Fox, founder and chief executive of RentLogic, went through a harrowing experience renting an apartment. After moving into a place located in Manhattan's West Village, he began to experience shortness of breath. Long story short, he discovered he suffered from a lung issue that was mold related. He sued the landlord and won. Out of this came Rent Logic. Rent Logic scores buildings on 150 different variables involving heat and hot water, bed bugs, rodents, complaints, and public assessments against the buildings. The looks of the properties does not matter. It's about the condition of the dwelling. Based on good ratings, a grade plaque would be placed on the buildings. Landlords and owners would pay a fee to place the plaque on their buildings, and renters would pay about $45 extra a month for a problem-free building. Lyfeblood.com would like to salute Rent Logic for building a rating systems that's for the benefit of landlords and owners, and at the same time giving relief to renters seeking quality places to live in. Go to rentlogic.com for more info. That was a nice business of the week, wasn't it? It is so needed because we as New Yorkers have issues, and of course a lot of different cities across America having issues with, it's a job in itself to try to find a place to live in the right neighborhood, make sure the building is nice, the apartment is nice, all the appliances are good working order, make sure your neighbors are good, and then all of a sudden you move in and you're dealing with mold or asbestos or a crappy service as far as throwing out the garbage and stinky garbage closet chutes or whatever in the hallway. So I mean, of course you're probably going to see that. They're always going to make it look nice at the beginning when it's showing you. They're going to show you the best building, and then what you really are going to see as the months go by is the truth of how management takes care of a building. So yeah, man, I think it's a dope idea, and I'm looking forward to having this become a mainstay in New York. All right, so let's get on with for this segment, and it's related. Apartment pricing is crazy in New York, and I think I've talked about it before on the show, but it's always good to talk about it, and I think I'm gonna run up with a second follow-up on just pricing of apartments. As we all know, New York is going through this huge surge of apartment complexes that are popping up all over in all parts of, let's say, Brooklyn for right now, because I was Brooklyn born and raised. And I'm going through, old stomping grounds, and I'm seeing Brooklyn. I'm like, all these apartment complexes shooting up, and new stores and eateries, and the face of the neighborhood is changing. And sometimes that's a good thing. Well, who doesn't want an economic upswing to happen in their neighborhood? Not a problem. But how is this going to affect the long time residents of a particular neighborhood? You know what I mean? Does it work for them? And if you're working or making a certain amount of money, it leaves you little options on where you can move. And, those options are dwindling in New York City and, the different boroughs in Queens and Harlem and Staten Island and all the boroughs. So it's just becoming increasingly hard to find a place to live. Especially at a decent price, So my thing is, in terms of Brooklyn, I found this one place, and I'm not going to say yet because I don't want anybody to be listening to this and all of a sudden, you're gonna have people popping up and know that you're popping up to dump on them or something like that. And but it's in Brooklyn. I visited the building, but it was closed. But I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna snap some pictures, because I want to see what these new luxury apartment rentals look like. Because online you can never get a good idea of what they look like because they stretch the pictures. I'm on to you guys. I'm on to it. You stretch the pictures and make it look so much bigger and roomier and vast. And when you go there, it's like, what? This is the size of the kitchen? No, I'm not falling for it. I've seen it. I've seen them through my years of finding places to live. And I'm like, this is not what this place looks like. Because you see the distortion in the cabinetry, in the walls and the windows. I'm like, come on, stop doing that. Stop doing that. All right. So, I'm going through this particular place, and I see some, let's just say in general, I see some places that are like $3,000 for one bedroom apartments. And I'm like, who is living here? Who can afford $3,000? Who can afford $3,500, $4,000? I'm like, what? Get out. Now, mind you, the guy that owns in Business of the Week, he, as I said, he was trying to find a place in Lower Manhattan, and he threw out buku dollars. This dude threw out buku dollars, like 12 G's. Now, all right, he's a professional, middle-aged guy, but when you're 25, you're trying to make your way through New York City. Not everyone's going to be making $150,000 out the gate when they're 22, 23, 24. Now, it's possible. It's all possible. But most hardworking people, especially blue-collar workers, teachers, cops, firefighters, a variety of different jobs. And not everybody's going to be working off Wall Street. Not everybody is going to be a doctor. Not everybody is going to be a lawyer. Not everybody. And even if you are in one of these professions, it takes time to build up to a certain amount to live comfortably in New York City. So I took this one place, and it's close to $3,000. So I'm having this discussion with my wife, and I'm like, who is living in these places? So just to break it down, I mean, they say you would have to afford New York, quote unquote, afford. That's afford, all right? Can you? I don't know. You have to be making base 91,000. A lot of people are not even making 91,000. Or you could bump it up to 100K, 105K, 110K, and that's when you start really, okay, I can figure some things out. But usually when you're 25, 24, and you're not working any one of those high-priced, high-end jobs, you're going to start small, work your way up, especially if, say, you're a struggling artist. You're not making 91. Who possibly? I don't know where. So let's just say this, okay? So let's deal with costs here, because even the companies that you work for, they want to pay you a certain amount of money. I'm like, do you know, especially if you like in mid part of your profession, say you've been doing your profession like 5-8 years, you demand a certain amount of money because of your experience, your background, your education, your credentials, such and so forth. But some of these companies, I'm like, listen, do you understand this is New York City? This is New York. You got to pay me according to my years in this business, my credentials, and especially the market of New York City. You can't pay me Florida money living in New York. You gotta cough up the right amount of money, man. Come on now. I'm telling you. I'm like, what? What you trying to pay me? Nah, man. You're gonna have to kick that up another $30,000. And here it is for this example. For this one place, say it's like $2,900. Now, I'll be real. It's $2,746. All right. This place is $2,746 for a one bedroom. I'm pretty sure it's a one bedroom, right? So let's say like this, right? It's $2,746, and now you got to add in other costs, right? You got to add in monthly subway which is $116 in New York City Metro, right? Unlimited. Like, let's say food, you spend $300, okay? You hang out money per night, and if you're 25, you're hanging out with your friends. So basically in a bar, you'll probably spend, or at a club, $150, $200, and that could be on the high end, because I know there's a lot of like beers, like $5, $10. Well, I know a beer that I would buy at the time was $8, $9, $10. All right, and some people would even be like, "What are you talking about? Really?" I know there's some beers like $3 or whatever like that, depending on a bar you would go to. But I was going to clubs, so you're gonna probably spend like $100, could be $150. Let's say on a high end night, you're gonna buy liquor, all right. So, okay, say you take out a date. What are you going to spend nowadays? I'm talking to my younger my younger listeners. You're 25, right? 26, 23, 28, something like that. So I say, and about $300 or $400 you're going to be spending on going on a date. You take out that nice lady. You're not going to go to a dumpy restaurant, all right? You're not going to go to the Chinese food, your local Chinese food joint. You're going to take it to a decent spot, all right? So you're going to, let's say you're going to spend about $300 or $400. Now, are you going on a date every Friday? I don't know. You could be pimping. Who knows? That's your thing. You know what I mean? But you might take out more than one lady. So let's say about $300, $400 you're going to spend, right? And say I could be wrong. Who knows? Internet, $50 a month. Your cell phone is $80 a month. Let's say that. Electricity, $75. You're going to go to the gym is like $25. Renter's insurance, if you so want that, is another $25. Miscellaneous TV apps like Netflix, Hulu, could be HBO, could be, Disney Plus. Let's say it's about $60, right? School debt. Now, if you're 25, 26, depending on your profession, you can have school debt. That's going to be probably like $250 a month that you're kicking out. Gone. And any other side debt that you may have. Now, you could have your school debt off a credit card, and then you can get another credit card for like $5,000, and you rack up, like you're getting clothes or something like that, and you rack that up. You say out of the $5,000, you put on $800, whatever, because even clothes is not cheap. Women's clothes is kind of cheap, but men's clothes is whatever. So let's say you spending like $100 just throwing it down to pay off that debt. So, okay, now, if you add all that up plus your rent, add all that up, that's $43.27. Now, if you're earning $95,000 a month, let's say about after taxes is $4,800. You're left with $473 for the month that you just putting away. And I'm being very, sometimes things shift. The thing that stays the same is rent. Things that don't stay the same is like entertainment, going out with your friends, going on dates, going grocery shopping. You can spend a little bit more one week as opposed to the last week. So, things shift, but you're supposed to have 473, rough, right? Other months you could have 200. That's not a lot of money to save, man. That's not a lot of money to save. And they say, again, in various articles, if you have a streak of bad luck and you lose your job, you got to have about 6 months of rent saved up in order to cover the loss of that job. Who has 6 months of money saved up? And you're 25, 27. Who, please, who? All right? That's crazy. You don't. And if anybody has it, then hey man, props to you. But most people in their 20s don't have 6 months of money saved up. You know who they're calling? They're calling their parents. They're calling their uncle. They're calling their aunt. They're calling someone to bail them out. Nobody has 6 months of rent saved up. Okay? I know a person that's damn near 40 years old, has a good professional job, and has to share her apartment with someone else. Now, I remember back in the day that if you were knocking on 30, let me just check something. If you were knocking on 30 and you still had a roommate, women would clown you. I can't believe you still have a roommate. You're living with someone? Oh my God. You have to have a place of your own. If you don't have a place of your own by the time you're 30, I'm wasting my time, right? That was the talk. Back in the day. And it made cats feel uneasy. Now, fast forward into 2020, you could be 40 and still have a roommate. 40 years old, professional job, you're credentialed up, your schooling is over and done with. You got your BA, you got your master's, whatever. Okay? Some people don't go for your master's. So don't feel inadequate if you don't have your master's. Don't feel inadequate. A lot of people, they try to shame you into feeling that, oh, you don't have your master's, then you didn't, quote unquote, succeed in life. If you don't have to get your master's. Society will force you to say, well, this job requires a master's, and then now you're behind the ball again, trying to keep up with the Joneses, and you got to get your master's so you can earn that extra 30. But really, that's something that society structured that you need. Is it necessary? Probably not. Especially for the price that you're asking for, and you have to take out 2 years of your life and studying, and you're already busy. When your adults decide to go back to school, they don't have that time. They got kids, they got other bills, they got to make sure they're working to pay their bills. They have other responsibilities that are associated with their kid and their lives at the time. So they got to do online school. They can't take the time out to go to a university to get their master's. But then it makes you feel like you're inadequate because you don't have these things. And that's not fair to people. And then they'll say, well, then you don't need to make that money. So now you're forced to go get your master's. But don't feel bad, man. Don't feel bad about not getting your master's. There's a lot of other professions that you can do that you can make money on in order for you to live. And trust me, folks, by the way, this is all associated with Lyfeblood.com and how we're going to try to circumvent this effery that's happening. Having people just struggling, doing the money chase, not just to have wealth, to build bank. People are doing a money chase just to keep up. That's the crazy part. They're doing a money chase just to keep up, to cover their bills. And then they have to go into the grind again, starting Monday off again to push through that week. All right? So like I said before, I mean, how do you do this? Now, they're supposed to say that your rent is only supposed to be, and I say rent, and I also mean mortgage too, if I say rent. It's only supposed to be 30% of your salary. 30%. 30%. Right? You're only supposed to be getting 30%, and that's what they say. But that amount for that apartment of $2,746 is 57%. 57%. Yo, what happened to that 30%? Where'd that go? And who came up with that number that your rent is only supposed to be 30% of your salary? Because that shit ain't happening in New York. With 30%, it's only supposed to be, I think, $1,400. And that is a dream as far as trying to find rent for $1,400 with a decent size. That's a dream. Okay? So now, where did we go from here? A couple of years ago, last month, you had some people that were protesting because of the rent's too damn high. And I see there was an article in the Daily News that people were protesting to Governor Cuomo that they wanted to push forth some bills that were going to protect people from the rising rents that are happening. And the governor says right here that they accuse Cuomo of undermining the push for passage of the bills. The governor countered that he wants a rent regulation policy that balances the interests of tenants and landlords and takes into account the different conditions in upstate New York and also in the city as well. So people were protesting that this needs to be done. And this article came out June 8th, 2019. And they just, it's so finally what it seems like here, and I'm sorry if I'm a little ill prepared because I just find this in the last minute. As New York's rent law deadline nears, tenant protest results in arrests. Now, this article came out in June 5th, 2019. And a lot of it, they're saying that because of the protests that Governor Cuomo said they're going to push through these bills. So some of these bills here, let me see some of these bills. So some of these bills are, there was another article that came out by AM New York, 9 bills to change regulations across New York. They're saying these bills are expand the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, S5040, A7046. Prohibit evictions without good cause. That's S2892/A5030. And vacancy decontrol. That's S2591 and A1198. They have another one. Eliminate the vacancy bonus. That's S185/A2351. Make preferential rents permanent until vacancy. That's S2845A/A4349. And permanent rent hikes for major capital improvements. That's S3693/A6322. And permanent rent hikes for individual apartment improvements. That's S3770. A6465. Extend time for overcharge complaints. That's S4169/A5251. And then there's rent control and rent stabilization parity, which is S2998/A167. So all these things were bills that they were some primary sponsors and they were going to push through. I don't know if all of these went through. So in the next show, I will definitely have a follow-up to see where this went. Obviously, there are New Yorkers that are complaining that rent is just skyrocketing and is getting out of control. Now, one of the things that New York was doing with some of these management companies, realtor companies, real estate companies, excuse me, that they would have to parcel some of these apartment units to as affordable housing in order to get certain monies or some sort of tax discounts, building these luxury rentals. Now, because of that, they were saying the funny thing is they wanted to have a backdoor law, some backdoor thing where for those that are making a certain amount that have been awarded these lower rentals in these apartment complexes, they couldn't enter through the front. They had to enter through the back. I'm like, what kind of classist bullshit is this? What? So we're not basing it on race. Of course, that was what was happening back in the day several decades ago, where black people had to enter through another door or a back door in order to get into a hotel. But now they're saying, okay, if you make a certain amount when awarded these low-income rental units in these luxury rental buildings, that they would have to enter through. Yo, what classist bullshit is that? If ever. I don't know. There were several people that were complaining about that, of course, obviously. So I don't know if some buildings have moved forward with it, even if it would have become illegal in New York State to do, or New York City to do. I don't know. You know how people are slick. You don't know if some of the managers to some of these buildings will still try to do it on the low and try to make people feel inadequate entering through back doors to get into where they live. But I'm gonna follow up with that too. That'd be interesting. If anybody ever hears about that, please let me know. That would be interesting to kind of follow up with and call people. But yeah, man, rent is too damn high in New York. So as I explained even before, man, considering all of these things that you have to pay apart from rent and the job that you have, and even as the job market as it goes, companies have to understand that you have to make money according to what your background, your years, your credentials, and also consider the market. I believe a lot of companies are still underpaying. I think they're underpaying about $30,000, let's say, roughly. So if your job calls for in your market 75, 70, whatever, you should be making 100, 105. If you're getting 105, 100, you should be making 130. I think it's about, honestly, it's companies are paying about $30,000 less than they should, according to what the demands are in New York State when it comes to the rental market. Or when it even comes to mortgages when you have your house. Because you got to pay the mortgage, and then you got to pay property tax, and some of these property taxes are fucking ridiculous. $12,000, $15,000 a year, that is insane. That's just more, that's more rent. Just, oh my God. On top of that. On top of the mortgage. That's like a whole other mortgage. You got paid $12,000, $15,000 a year. And then the way that tax law went, what Trump administration did, they cut into what you can get back. So you're capped off as a homeowner. Come on, man. So yeah, we definitely got to do something about that as far as the luxury rentals. And with all these luxury rental apartment complexes that are popping up all over New York City, especially in Brooklyn, you got to make it more affordable, man. You got to make it more affordable. Either you guys got to lower this rent, the market's got to cool off, or companies have to recognize what it costs to live in New York, and they have to bump up what the salaries to their employees. Another $35,000. Because you can't, I know there's no disconnect. You can't have a because same people that you're hiring as employees are the same people that are bosses and the hiring officers in these companies. And they know what the rate is in New York. Some of them live in New York. So you can't tell me that you don't know what it costs to live in New York. Or even some of these HR people. I know they know, man. They doing the research. They do the research. They do the research online and they ask around. You know, HR people talk to HR people. They know what they should be paying people. Motherfuckers being cheap. So like I said, the rental market has to cool down and normalize, or you have to pay people according to what city they live in. And it's just not New York, it's Miami, it's San Francisco, it's LA. Okay? All the hot markets in the United States. And New York is on the top of that list. Anyway, all right. So I will get into next week as far as how these laws pass. I'm not so sure of what passed. They said they would when Governor Cuomo was getting all that pressure. We'll see what goes on now that we're into the third month of 2020. Let's see how that goes. So let's get into the next song or the next few songs for the next segment. What do we got going? So we got Stina Battle with Uninvited. I like this song. It's really cool. I think she's coming from LA, out there in LA. And also right behind her is That Young Lad Coming Again. We played some songs on the show before, some other songs, and he's got a fresh one. It's called Problem. So we're going to play that up. So it's going to be Stina Battle with Uninvited and That Young Lad with Problem. All right, here it is one.
Oh man,
Check this out.
we're going in with another one.
It's on.
GCOM Radio.
A million faces, peculiar places. We've been through all that. All the same people, running the same circles. I'm through with all that. Every party in LA, playing the same old games. What am I missing to make you notice me? I feel so insecure. Is this the way it works? I wish I had been uninvited. I wish I had been uninvited. I wish I had been uninvited. Uninvited. I wish I had been uninvited. I stand in the corner, looking at the people. The poses of rich kids, where do I fit in? What am I doing? I should go home. How long will I stand here staring at my phone? Everybody in LA, playing the numbers game. Who do you know you're not getting nothing from me? I feel so insecure. Is this the way it works? I wish I had been uninvited. to know your name. I wish I had been uninvited. I wish I had been uninvited. I wish I had been uninvited. I wish I had been uninvited.
I feel so
Let's start from the beginning.
There's many, but nothing like this internet radio show.
Beat my frequency.
GCOM Radio.
Y'all know what's up.
Till that shit did on my prowler, ooh. Thought that I told you. That shit did on my prowler, ooh. Ayy. That shit did on my prowler, ooh. Thought that I told you. That shit did on my prowler, ooh. Tell him. Ayy. That not my problem, thought that I told you. Small minded, never noticed. Couldn't believe that I wrote this, but that's not my problem. Could've sworn I told you, march on tracks just like a fucking soldier. Everything you claim is fucking bogus. Wish you would make an attempt to hold us. Never knock us off the money focus. Bitch, I'm feeling like I'm fucking chosen. All y'all too PG about it. Homie, where we gonna see about it? All y'all know that I'ma be about it to the point you see me on the screen about it. While you get laid on concrete about it. No, there was a time that I doubted myself, but now that's not my problem, ooh. Hey, said I used to have that problem till I looked inside myself. Then I realized how to solve it. Just believe up in yourself. Not to mention that my mentions going crazy, so stupendous. Shout out every fucking person who done hit me on the message. That shit did on my prowler, ooh. Thought that I told you. That shit did on my prowler, ooh. Ayy. That shit did on my prowler, ooh. Thought that I told you. That shit did on my prowler, ooh. Tell him. Ayy. This my message, it was written an inscription of its time. It's not my problem if you mistranslate or missed it with your mind. Here's some salty bitch that's talking shit but barely pay it mind. Stop giving out all of my energy, my only problem time. Ay, this, that, young lad, petty people so mad. Could a problem that I once had now making me laugh. I swear to God, when you this high, you need not to land. Ain't a problem gonna hollow me or turn me to sand. It's your homie Laradonna, you could call me till the wheels fall off, till death take us apart, till you reflect and introspect on the time that you have lost, tripping about another person's problems. Ask yourself the cause. What? That shit did on my prowler, ooh. Thought that I told you. That shit did on my prowler, ooh. Ayy. That shit did on my prowler, ooh. Thought that I told you. That shit did on my prowler, ooh. Ayy.
Okay, we are back, and that was, as I said, Stina Battle with Uninvited, and that young lad with Problem, both dope artists in their own right. And before we continue on with this segment, of course, we have to get in the news you need to know. All right, let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Around the world and right in your neighborhood, it's the news you need to know.
Juicy J has beef with Columbia Records. Juicy J from 3 6 Mafia put out several tweets in protest of Columbia Records. The rapper, who's been with the label for 20 years, tweets, "I gave Columbia Records 20 plus years of my life and they treat me like backwash." The rapper wrote, "Everybody is calling my phone telling me not to post the song Fuck 'em," unquote. A song called Fuck Columbia Records was put out to air grievances starting back in 2000. A rep did not make an immediate response to his comments. And why are people still dealing with record labels? Scientists cure diabetes. As you know, diabetes is a prevalent disease that affects 30 million Americans. Even though there are drugs that can manage it, the medical community continues to do the research to find a cure. Well, I think we have one. Researchers believe stem cells are the answer in lab mice. Diabetes is caused by the body's lack of self-producing insulin. Without this, people have to constantly self-regulate with insulin injections. With stem cells, they can be used to do the work of the cells needed to provide insulin secretion, which gives the body balance. Stem cells are human cells that have the ability to convert to other types of cells, in this case, beta cells. However, these stem cells can continue to convert cells that are not useful in combating diabetes. They are unpredictable. Jeffrey Millman, lead researcher, says 1 billion beta cells are needed to cure a person. Recently, researchers have come up with a solution to boost the efficiency of these beta cells that have enough to have an effective treatment for the ailment. With this new method, they're able to cure lab mice. It's a great achievement, but it's a whole next step to replicate it in humans. We'll see where they go with this in the next few years. And that is the news you need to know. Yeah, so we're going to get into the last segment of the show. And this is some recent information that came out that I was aware of course, before it came out in the news, of this guy that is a flat earther. And everybody knows what flat earthers are. They're people that believe the earth is flat. It's not round. They don't believe in any of the photos, the several thousand photos of the earth from space. All the many eons of information in human history to say that the earth is round and other heavenly bodies are round. They believe in some crazy way, I don't understand, that the earth is flat and water just runs off the edge, and whatever other kooky ideas that these flat earthers believe in. So there's one guy, his name was Mike Hughes. Some people call him Mad Mike Hughes. Some journalists have picked up on his diatribes, flat earth diatribes, that the earth is flat, and they found it amusing. And they snickered and laughed at this guy. And I don't even know much about his history. They said he was a part-time daredevil guy, and that he was he jumped out of limos or some craziness like that before in his past, And he finally said he was going to do the ultimate stunt or trick or I don't know, thing where he was going to get in a rocket, fly to the lower elevation of the outer atmosphere or something like that, of the earth, and then prove to people that the earth is flat. So he was going to build his rocket, and he was going to prove that by going to a certain elevation. And then he was going to come back saying, see, I told you the earth is flat, right? I don't know what gets in people's minds. So he does this trick, and it came out. He did the trick February 22nd, about a week or so ago or something like that. And what happens, folks? Guess what happens? The guy gets in his rocket, in his makeshift rocket, shoots off into the air. I don't know how far he flew into the air, all right, but pretty high. And that's my cat, by the way. He wants to make his statements as well on this situation. This dude crawls out and from whatever little nook and cranny he was in, now he wants to voice his presence. So anyway, so this guy flies into the air, all right. And let's see if I could just pick this article to see what happens. The rocket he was written on a design to reach a user. So 5,000 feet, right? He flies 5,000 feet, right? So what happens? The guy flies into the air and dies. Yeah, folks, this guy, in his wild, harebrained scheme, he was going to try to figure out the earth was flat, flies into the air and freaking dies, crashes, splats back to earth. Yeah, so this guy, Mike Hughes, as they call him, Mad Mike Hughes, he was 64 years old, and is in his attempt to try to prove that the earth was flat, he kills himself. Dead on instantaneously, right onto the rocky world we know as planet Earth. This has so many layers. Oh my God. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. Initially, when I heard about the story, I laughed, I snickered because of the absolute absurdity of the whole thing. That this man would risk his life, and how in his attempt, he kills himself, right? I'm like, dude, what do you expect what's going to happen? You know, you try to build rockets. You just can't just build rockets and then expect it to work. Like, and, you know, I understand in the past, right? I understand in the past that we've done a lot of crazy things to prove that an invention actually works. But you just can't just do that just randomly, because you have to be aware of the risk is ultimately death. That's the highest risk. And he kills himself, right? All for some harebrained scheme or this idea, this theory that the earth is flat. Now, how ridiculous is that? So when he launched the rocket, the rocket's parachute snapped off during launch. And then he goes 5,000 feet into the air. And then eventually, because what happens? Gravity happens. And he plummets back to the earth, straight to heaven. And there is a video that's out. It's actually, if you Google it, you could find it for yourself. Mike Hughes, Hughes, dies in attempt to prove the earth was flat. A journalist shared it on his Twitter profile, and you see the video of his shooting into the air. The parachute flies off. He goes to the clouds and then plummets back down to the earth. Nothing deploys. Now, they said they was through 3 other backup parachutes, but they never deployed. And he crashes back down to earth, and everybody is like screaming and just letting out their breath, like, oh my God, in disbelief. There was a man in the foreground that had his camera shooting the footage, and he's shooting it going down. The rock is going down, crashes in a cloud of dust, and the guy his body just crumples from like seeing actual death happening in real life, real time. And he just like, oh my God. And then he looks in the camera again to see that he took it, and he just bends and crumples back, like, you know, in horror. It's very sad. I have to say, when I initially read the story, you know, I snickered, because I was like, what? Of course this is going to happen, right? Because anybody wants to make some makeshift rocket to prove some stupid idea that the earth is flat. It's a poetic tragedy, right? But then when you see the footage, sadness creeps in, like, oh my God, this dude just died. He ended his life to prove something that was absolutely asinine. And it is poetic tragedy. A poetic, tragic end. That a man that believed that the earth was flat decided that he was going to put his life on the line to prove something, and then him ending up in death in trying to prove this idea. Now, he says there's no, as they say in his article, flat earthers do not believe in gravity. Let me see here. This is what it says. He says Mad Mike didn't believe in gravity. Most flat earthers don't. Quote, objects simply fall, reads the Flat Earth website, because the best way to demonstrate scientific validity is to declare your conclusion before giving any of the data that validate it. So that's what this piece says. They don't believe in gravity. Objects just fall. What? I don't understand what that means from a flat Earth explanation. Yeah, man. Look at the processes and it's stupid. It's just ridiculously dumb. So, it just, to me, it just says the layers behind it is that it just says mountain loads of how human beings just fall for things, no matter how educated you are. There are things that are part of what we absorb into, allow into our minds, that have absolutely no scientific basis. It's based on nothing, no fact that we could just, no matter how many degrees we have a PhD, we have a master's, where we spent many years learning in a specific field, but yet human beings continue to fail on using logic in other parts of life, dealing with other subject matter. Very skilled in what they learn, went to school for, got their degrees, spend years of study and research, But yet, when it comes to other subject matter, they are blockheads. They are idiots. And I don't mean to disrespect, but I'm saying, like, really? What? Now, I try as best as I can. I'm not the sharpest tool in the industry. Look, I'm not saying I know everything, but certain things you have to be very careful of before you go ahead and parade yourself around treating it as fact. Okay? It says a lot about our education as humans. And I'm not just going to leave it just to United States citizens. It's people all over the world we decide to believe in this fact. I'm like, I don't. Some of it is just common sense, not just from science that we could get from previous generations that have proved certain facts on life, but just the belief in just common sense logic. I cannot put my hand in fire. I will burn my hand. But if you can convince someone that putting their hand in fire will result in nothing, it's just something that's there in front of us, you can program somebody to believe this. If ignorance has no scientific basis, all right, when it comes to anything, you have to believe in the scientific method, white papers, studies, people that had spent their entire life doing research, following up, testing, reviewing, collaborating with others in their field, and then actual published papers to present the evidence. There's a certain steps before you actually start believing in something as actual fact. That's why when as far as NASA, when the SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Life, that program that the government, and they point their dishes out to the heavens, trying to get some evidence that there's other life out there through signals, right? Radio signals, other signals, whatever the case. But even if they get something that, because of course they know from years of research that natural bodies will emit certain signals, all right, that they will receive as just noise, and it expresses itself in a lot of different ways, or emanates in a lot of different ways. And some of them, they know right away, okay, that's like a pulsar or something like that, or an explosion in space. And others, they are not sure of, but they do the research. But you don't see these people, these scientists, these folks in this field will run out to the papers, whether it's the Daily News, whatever paper from whatever country they come from, and say, we found alien life and they're transmitting to us. Before they even, if they get some sound or rhythm or whatever it is that their devices are receiving, they double, triple, quadruple check. They reach out to other satellite bases from that have similar dishes, satellite dishes that's receiving this information, and say, hey, listen, we're getting this. What do you think? Can you help us? And they go over it for weeks because they do not want, first, they don't want to look like idiots by releasing something. And plus, their whole careers are on the line, and they got to make triple sure that this is the information again. And there are signals that they do receive that, oh my God, they get excited at first. And then after, triple, quadruple, checking, and we're like, oh man, that's just like, I don't know, this, we never heard this before. And then, they, all of a sudden they continue on with their studying or their research, whatever. So that's so important. And it says tremendously of how human beings receive information, and social media does not help. Social media, unfortunately, it's great that we can talk to each other about things that we wouldn't naturally or expect to hear from mass media corporations. So we kind of tend to listen to other alternate sources, and that's good. But the unfortunate part of social media is that you get a lot of quacks that put out information without any study or research, and they say, oh, this is the case. And unfortunately, people listen to it and take it as fact, and they run with it. And then what happens, quote unquote, it goes viral. And then there are people of level heads say, wait a second, let's do this. Let's do some background on this. And then they have to debunk it by releasing something or other. And it's sad because it wastes a lot of people's time, and it gets the masses barking up the wrong tree. And then, and the other part is there are those that, regardless of what information you give them, they still believe in this nonsense. We got to be very careful, man. And it's sad that this man had to lose his life believing in some craziness that the earth is flat, regardless of the astronauts that went into space and went around the earth so many times and then landed on the moon, and astronauts going to space stations, and you see the footage and you see all this. They've actually said these pictures of astronauts on the moon was all staged by the government. What the hell is going on? It's so sad you cannot think of the words to express how you feel, how these people are. And here it is, this guy kills himself and builds a rudimentary or some makeshift rocket that is not even designed to go to where he needs to be to prove that the earth is flat. He just went 5,000 feet. And then, because, I mean, and it's very hard to build rockets, man. Even NASA scientists tell you the shuttles that go into outer space, they fail constantly. And they have to build off of those failures to make sure that they can be as foolproof as possible before sending 5 or 6 people into outer space. And here this man has no background, as far as I know, in building rockets. No knowledge in the smallest bit in what it takes to send a rocket close to the upper atmosphere. And look what happens. He dies. And it says so much about who we are, part of who we are in this world that we live in, with social media and mass media and disinformation on the information superhighway, that you could get gullible folks, and unfortunately several hundreds of thousands of gullible people to believe in nonsense. You know why I say that? I have to say because of the Trump administration. The Trump administration is the hoodwink of all hoodwinks. And I'm not going to say just Trump administration. Let's not say that. But there are a lot of public figures and politicians that pull the wool over people's eyes. And you will have those that comes from a particular party. And I'm not saying just Republicans, Democrats too, that will believe every single vowel and verb and adverb and pronoun that comes out of the mouth of people that get in front of the camera because they have certain titles, and they nestle themselves into institutions that have been around for decades, hundreds of years, and people just naturally believe. Why would they lie to me? And then can you imagine what these folks, after the camera lights go off, the cameras stop recording, and they go off into their corners at their desks and they speak with their own. Can you imagine what they're saying? Because most of what people say is, they say, I can't, well, and most of it is factless, because you have other organizations and institutions that fact check and say, no, that's not true. But people, a good portion of American citizens and people in general believe it anyway, because it's not based on fact. It's based on what's the word I'm looking for? Emotional comfort. That's what it is. Emotional comfort that there's someone on the other side of the television will reinforce what you believe in, no matter how ridiculous it sounds. Oh, bread is grown out of branches, vines in China. Whole loaves of bread are born out. Yes, I see. I told you. He said it. So that's what it is. You got to be very careful how we get information, how we receive it, where we get it from. And even then, we have to triple, quadruple check the sources of this information. So, you know what? It's sad that this man had to die in this case, but it is very telling on who we are as people, that we have a lot to go. No matter there are folks that you feel that have degrees, and you'll see them captured on camera, and they say some stupid things, and you're like, whoa, idiocy just doesn't come from what we expect from toothless, dirty people that live in trailer homes or live in, in poor. They're very educated, quote unquote, educated people that dress very nice, hair combed back nice and proper, and and then they'll say something really stupid, and you're like, what? You went to school? So yeah, man. So these are lessons learned from this gentleman, Mike Hughes. And I hope what we do as a people is we go forward and we learn from these lessons. And we don't end up dead because we believe wholeheartedly in things that have no basis in truth or fact. So on that note, guys, we are out of here. Thank you for listening to me through this show. Please, as I said, as Lyfeblood.com, please sign up as members. And this, what I just said with Mad Mike Hughes, Lyfeblood is not. Partly, you can call me a technologist, and Lyfeblood.com is about finding our truth and finding fact, and basing this new society, this new movement, this new city that we will build eventually, even as we go beyond this, is going to be entirely based on fact and studies, and trusting in the work that we've done from our ancestors, from the previous generations up to now. Lyfeblood.com is about building that. So please sign up, be a part of it, and I appreciate you guys listening to me. Shout out to all the artists that submitted their music, and look out for more information for New York Tech Day that we're going to be at Jacob Javits, and we're out of here. So see you guys next week. Peace.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com for the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go round. From right here to your town, we out.